Hi, you've reached Feather and Veil. I'm so glad you're here. Today I'm going to be talking about Chapter 11, The Witch's Doorway. It didn't feel like rebellion. It felt like survival. After everything I'd seen, everything I'd felt, I needed someone who understood. I needed language for what I was going through. The church I grew up in didn't have it. None of them did, and I searched for a while. The churches I knew offered threats, not answers. You're going to hell. We don't talk to the dead. It's in the Bible. You're deceived. But I didn't feel deceived. I felt awake. I felt loved. Terrified, yes, but more afraid of going through it alone than of the voices, the dreams, the visions. I reached out to clergy more than once. I went to local ministers, hoping at least one would say, "Okay, well, let's find out what this is. Let's talk." But they didn't. They offered warnings instead of wisdom, condemnation instead of comfort. Then I found someone who would listen. An acquaintance who knew some of what I'd been going through told me that there was a place just a town over called the Church of the Old World Celtic Tradition. They can help you, she said. They're not like the others. Now, it was a small town nestled along a 2-lane highway, the kind of place you could blink and miss it. But the moment I arrived, I felt something stir, not fear, recognition, like the land itself had been waiting for me. The woman who greeted me was a small, delicate in frame, but not in presence. She stood in the doorway dressed all in black. Several chains hung from her neck, one bearing a pentacle, the other an ornate skeleton key. Her shoulder-length hair was soft, mixture of blonde and silver gray, and her skin bore the lines of a woman well into her 70s, weathered by life, but warm. Her pale blue eyes sparkled as if they saw something behind me or within me. She smiled. "Welcome," she said. "Come in." We stepped into her home, which doubled as a gathering place for the church. The first room had deep purple walls adorned with black decorative flowers, a black coffin, and Gothic trinkets. It was dark, but not gloomy, more like mysterious, magical. The kitchen was painted red, bold, with dried herbs and flowers hanging against the wall. I'd later learned the colors weren't chosen by accident. There were reasons tied to cardinal directions and energies, like the philosophy of feng shui, but I didn't know any of that yet. We sat at her kitchen table. "I'm Cheryl," I said. "I'm O," she replied. She asked me a few personal things, where I was from, if I was married, had kids, and then said, "Would you mind if I did a reading for you?" I nodded, intrigued. She brought out a worn, well-loved tarot deck and began to shuffle. As the cards hit the table, something shifted in the air. Her eyes began to glow with wonder and intensity. She wasn't just reading symbols. She was seeing something unfold. "You're the one we've been waiting for," she whispered. "You're the missing piece." I didn't know what to say. I just stared. "You speak to the dead, don't you?" she asked, not as a question, but as a statement. "Yes," I finally said, surprised by how safe I felt telling the truth. O nodded. "I know at the moment you walked in. She told me I had abilities, clairvoyance, clairsentience, and others that were growing quickly. If you don't learn how to control and protect yourself, they'll drown you," she warned. "You'll lose yourself trying to explain what can't be explained to the wrong people." So I stayed. I began learning everything I could: the Celtic Sabbats, the wheel of the year, the phases of the moon, how other energies shaped ritual. I learned the gods and goddesses of old. I studied the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water. ether, quintessence, or spirit, right? As represented by the pentacle, a 5-pointed star within a circle. Each point, essential force of life in balance. We explored herbalism, the ancient wisdom of plants. On weekends, we went on wild crafting excursions, foraging for herbs in the mountains and valleys, such as staghorn, sumac, St. John's wort, the golden flower of protection, chamomile, echinacea, lavender. I started building my own apothecary, collecting oils, stones, making tinctures, resins. Everything had meaning. Everything had purpose. It was the first time in my life I felt like I was studying something my soul already knew. It wasn't learning, it was remembering. We moved through the symbols of the old world Celtic tradition one by one. The pentacle, the chalice, the cauldron, the athame, or athameum, however you say it, each carrying its own weight of meaning. Then came the skeleton key. She explained that in this tradition, the key was tied to Summerland, the realm beyond death. Some say it opens a back door to that place, entrusted to Hecate, or Hecate, Hecate, however you would like to say it, the keeper of the crossroads and guardian of thresholds. Worn with the pentacle, it became both a protector and a passport, a way to unlock not only physical doors, but the passage between worlds in life, death, and even astral travel. The key was not merely an ornament, it was a reminder that the doors we approach are not opened by force, but the readiness of spirit. From the way I understood it, if one wore both the pentacle and the skeleton key close to the heart at the time of death, or near-death crossing, or even astral travel, the key could grant passage. The same was said to be true during moments of deep astral travel, when the soul slips free from the body to walk in other realms or places. I heard my dog barking. Her words sank deep, stirring something I had glimpsed long before I ever stepped into this place. The black granite mountain from my childhood vision, split by the seam of light. I had never named it before, but hearing her speak of Summerland, I recognized it instantly. The light spilled through the stone was the same light she described, and I wondered if I had been wearing the key during that crossing, would I have been able to open that door? Eventually, O approached me with a question after months of learning these things. Would you be willing to be initiated? Now, initiation meant more than learning ritual and performing it yourself. It meant stepping fully onto this path, committing to the old ways in practice and in spirit. It meant becoming a high priestess. I said yes. She showed me old Salem, the willows, the graveyard, the best clam chowder at Red's. My initiation took place in 2017 on Summer Solstice at Collins Cove in Salem, Massachusetts. A historic shoreline thick with memory and magic. The day was overcast, the wind restless. I cast my circle by the water, calling in each element, each direction. I raised my staff, speaking my intention into the winds, to the ocean, to spirit. And when I closed the circle, just as I finished my final prayer, a wave crashed hard against the shore, as if the ocean itself had answered. I keep a small bottle of that salt water and sand as a reminder. It wasn't all poetry and ceremony, though. One night at church, the air was thick with emotion. The high priestess was upset. The room was full of heavy energy. Everyone was there. The moment I walked in, it hit me like a tidal wave. My hands started trembling, my heart raced. I felt myself absorbing all of it, even from the cat curled in the corner. I didn't know how to stop it until one of the members guided me outside. She told me to place my hands, my bare hands, in the grass and let it ground me. I didn't know what she meant. The moment my palms touched the earth, I felt it. It felt like the ground took a deep drink, pulling all of that chaos and energy out of me. My heartbeat slowed, my mind cleared. That was the day I understood. I wasn't just a receiver, I was a vessel. And if I didn't learn how to manage the flow, I would definitely drown in it. Some things don't bloom in chaos. They require just the right conditions, like the moonflower. Rare and delicate, it blooms only at night, opening in the silence under the moonlight, as if answering a call only it can hear. That's what this path felt like. Not rebellion, not deception, but something sacred blooming quietly in the dark. I didn't go looking for witchcraft. For years I've been carrying spiritual weight with no words for it, no mentors to guide me, and no community that would call it what it was. Some might say a gift. I say a curse. I tried to fit in the structures I was told would make me whole, but they didn't fit. The churches I turned to offered shame instead of shelter. They quoted scripture, warned of demons. Everything I had ever believed about God, about the soul, about what happens when the veil thins, was cracked wide open. The church of the old world Celtic tradition didn't pull me away from my faith. It challenged me to ask whether I had really been allowed to claim it for myself in the first place. The truth is, I had not. What I'd been given was a narrow road with tight fences, and when I stepped off it, even just to look around, I was told I'd lost my way. But I hadn't lost anything. I had finally started finding. Years later, I would still think of that silver key, not as an object or as jewelry, but as an idea, a quiet, patient invitation waiting for the right moment. The teaching stayed with me. In this tradition, the key was tied to Summerland, the realm beyond death, and entrusted to Hecate, or Hecate, or however you want to pronounce it, the keeper of the crossroads and the guardian of the thresholds. Worn with the pentacle, it became both protector and passport, a way to unlock not only physical doors, but the passage between worlds in life, in death, and even in astral travel. The key was not to be used by force, only when spirit was ready. That readiness, I learned, was not about worthiness or perfection. It was about alignment, about having done the work your soul came here to do. If the pentacle is a symbol of protection, then the skeleton key is a promise that there is always a way through when the time is right. I have often imagined what it would feel like to reach that golden door again, the ornate keyhole gleaming, the silver key warm in my hand. Would the light on the other side look the same as it did in my vision? Would the voices greet me with recognition? Or would it open to a place I cannot yet imagine? Perhaps the key is already mine, not hanging around my neck, but somewhere in the marrow of my being, forged by every choice, every loss, every moment of grace. In that small red kitchen, with the herbs hanging from the rafters, tarot cards laid in neat patterns, and women who carried ancient knowing in their eyes, I began to remember something in myself that had never belonged to anyone else. I was not broken. I was not deceived. I was spiritually awake, alert, and for the first time in my life, I was being seen for that. The old world Celtic tradition taught me how to name the seasons of my soul, how to mark sacred time, how to work with energy instead of being consumed by it. The Sabbats, the moon cycles, the elements, the symbols, they gave structure to what I'd already been experiencing all along. And once I learned this language, I never forgot it. I could not. It became a part of me. I never stopped feeling the pull of Christianity. I still talk to God. I still believe that there is a universal life force. I still believe in the power of prayer. I've studied Eastern philosophies, read scriptures from multiple faiths, walked labyrinths, burned incense, laid hands, and laid bare. I have listened to spirit guides, angels, and ancestors, and through it all, I've learned this. No single religion holds all the answers. They are all part of the same song, just sung in different languages. Now I live by experience. I live by the soul. I honor what resonates. I release what does not. I trust the divine is big enough to hold all of it. Still, there are days when I return to the image of that silver skeleton key. I see my hand lifting it toward that golden door, the metal warm from my touch, the click as it turns. It is not because I forced it, but because my spirit has arrived at the moment it was meant for. In many ways, I am like the moonflower. It blooms only at night when the world is quiet, when no one is watching, when the conditions are just right. It is rare, mysterious, fragile, but impossibly strong. It waits until the dark to open, not in spite of the darkness, but because of it. And maybe that is what the key has been teaching me all along. The door will open when the soul has bloomed, and not a moment sooner. That is not rebellion. That is freedom. And that is faith on my terms. That's it. Boy, oh boy, I read it. You know, I was going to add all kinds of other stuff in there. Maybe another day. Another book. Who knows? I don't know. Please walk in kindness. And always trust in your light. Until next time. Bye!